everybody, my name's Charlie and I've helped over 150 people win their PIP claims and I received PIP myself. Today I'm going to take you through the facts of the government changes, not any gossip, the facts that I have got from the green paper that was issued. This is the green paper that the government's released and it's 99 pages. I've been through all of it and I'm just going to talk to you about PIP, okay, just what impacts us, are chronically ill, are either receiving PIP or are going through the process of claiming for PIP. If you're in Scotland, this isn't relevant because you've got ADP. Before we get into it, I just want to clarify, there are no changes happening right now. No changes. We are carrying on as per normal. This is a consultation, and I will go into the details about the bits that do worry me. But right now, no changes, business as usual. First of all, is PIP being taken away? No, it is not. PIP is staying. It will continue to be not means tested, which means that you can claim for it and receive it when working. You can receive it no matter what your income is, if you own property, if your partner works. It's not means tested. Okay, that's going to remain the same. It will remain the same that you have to have a condition that's impacted you for 3 months and is more than likely it's going to continue for at least another 9 months. If you are terminally ill and have been diagnosed with less than 12 months to live, the system will remain the same. They are extremely good at fast tracking people in that situation. What is fantastic about what they're doing is they're putting in an extra 26 billion, that's billion pounds into the NHS. They're going to increase by over 2 million appointments and get 7 months ahead of schedule for people that are waiting for treatment or waiting to see specialists. This is massive news for us, massive news for the chronically ill community. When the first paper was released by the Conservatives, my frustration was, stop trying to beat us up and help those of us that are able to get better. No one chooses to be chronically ill. There are many of us with degenerative conditions like myself, but there are also many people with conditions where if they did get access to the right specialist and the right treatment, they could get better. And I agree with what they've said in all of this, that we want to work. I've never spoken to someone that doesn't want to work. Everyone I talk to, we want to be better, we want to work. I agree with the core foundations of what they're trying to do. There is some I don't agree with, but we'll come on to that. So the money going into the NHS is brilliant. And I believe that is what is going to make the difference to getting people off PIP and getting people back to work. They've accepted the main feedback is the PIP experience is not positive. We don't trust them, and they want to review that process, especially the assessment process, but after they've sorted all this stuff out. Another big change that they're putting in place is if you try and go back to work, if you try employment, it will no longer trigger a change of circumstance. It won't trigger a review. Whereas, now, again, I'm only talking about PIP, but I didn't realise that with some of the benefits that if you tried to go back to work, you just lost everything. And say, for example, you tried for a couple of weeks and it didn't work, you were pretty much fucked. Well, they're going to change that because obviously, if you want to get back to work, you need to try it, especially if you've got health issues, to see if the employer will actually put reasonable adjustments in place and see if you can manage it. So it's no longer going to trigger a change of circumstance and a review, and they want that in place ASAP. Another fantastic thing. If you've seen any of my videos, you know that I advise you to record your PIP assessments because we can't trust them. We have technical issues quite a lot, so you can't get the recording. And it has been shown, in my experience, that if you do record the session, you are treated more fairly. They want to implement it so it's standard practice that every assessment is recorded. This will be fantastic. I fully support this, which for those of you that have experienced the report saying things that you didn't say that weren't true, it's not at all accurate. That should stop that. So that's, again, another really big positive. The number of face-to-face assessments for PIP and work capability used to be like 77%. Now it's, since COVID, it's down to 7% is face-to-face. They want to increase that more. I don't like that. There is going to be like reasonable adjustments. So if there's a reason why you can't go in face to face, they're saying that they're going to support that. This bit makes me nervous because it's such a setup. I have issues with that. In my opinion, it depends on how reasonable they're going to be with their reasonable adjustments, or if they're just saying that to be politically correct and actually they're going to be dicks about it. But we're not going to know until it starts happening. They are saying that people with severe conditions that are degenerative, that they're going to reduce the amount of reviews that they do, which means that it's going to save the taxpayer money. It's going to save us a lot of extra stress and anxiety. It means less review forms, less assessments. And don't forget, people that book me, so I have a consultancy, people book me and I work with them on their PIP claims. No one books me if they've got a boo-boo. I've got clients that are bedridden 90% of the time that are being put through assessments every 3 years, which is actually 2 years, the way the system works. People that are on oxygen that can't do more than 3 steps being forced into reviews. So I completely agree with this, providing there is medical evidence to back up the severity of that person's condition or conditions, then I agree with it. I do agree, this isn't a popular opinion, but I do agree with them having to do regular reviews for many people, because there are many conditions that with the right treatment you could improve. So they can't just stop the assessments. It just wouldn't be reasonable. But I do agree with the approach that they are taking on the more severe conditions. They're talking about doing a light touch, which again means less of the formal assessments and all the forms that you've got to fill in for people that are going to be disabled for life. So I would say, in my head, that means people that are diagnosed with autism that are not verbal, potentially some conditions like cerebral palsy, where if it's affecting severely one side of your body, unfortunately there aren't a cure for these conditions. People with really severe arthritis or degenerative disc disease. There's many that once you hit a certain category on it, unfortunately, we're going to be disabled for life. It sucks. And none of us want to be in that category, but it does make sense to have those people in a different category. It makes sense. They want to work on evidence. Now, if you've seen, I've got a good evidence video, I'll put a link above. The way that they request evidence is shit, right? What they request is shit. It doesn't help your claim. It's a waste of time. It takes up so much time for the companies that do the assessments for the DWP. It takes up a massive amount of time at tribunals because people submit crap evidence, which is advised by the fucking DWP and Citizens Advice Bureau, and it's a waste of time. So they want to review the evidence process and make it better so it's clearer for you, us, what is good and what needs to be submitted, which I fully support. And by the way, I really appreciate any of you that link with me. I appreciate you not sending me loads of crap, that you understand 99% of your evidence I'm going to say is rubbish. I really appreciate you not wasting my time. And we need them to get their shit together and stop wasting everyone's time. So yes, that is brilliant. They want to improve on the safeguarding of vulnerable people, which I completely agree with. And I think they're very good at it. I've experienced it with a client where he spoke to them and was very blunt about his mental health. And within 2 hours, a member of the mental health team was knocking on his door, checking if he was still with us. Okay. I do think they are getting better at it. I think they need to continue to improve it, and that's what they've committed to. So yes, another positive. With the funding that they're putting into the NHS and other services, they want to prioritise mental health services. Now, I don't agree with everything the government says here, okay? So the government just keeps going on about that more and more people are claiming for PIP due to mental health. Yes, And our country, compared to every other country around the world, we've got more people signed on and not working because they're sick than any other country in the world. Now, some of that is we have better systems in place than a lot of other countries. You know, I say regularly, I'm so grateful that I'm British. I've spent a lot of time working in Africa as a humanitarian worker. I know I'm privileged. I know I'm lucky to be in a country where the government will support me. I think the reason the number of mental health claims has increased is because we talk about it more. There is a lot more understanding. There is still stigma. There is still a lot more work that needs to be done. People are being more open about how they feel, as well they should, which has then resulted in more claims. And obviously COVID broke a lot of people, made things a lot worse, and many people haven't recovered from that. So the fact that they're going to invest more in mental health services as well as the NHS is fantastic, because I do think and meet many people that if they could get access to the right level of specialist, a GP, a specialist, a psychiatrist, or a clinical psychologist, if they could get access to those people and get the right level of treatment, and I'm in medication as well as other therapies, they would be able to turn their lives around. So I completely agree. This is fantastic. This one I love, right? The main conditions that they're experiencing claims for is mental health, which we've talked about, musculoskeletal, which is like the arthritis, back pain, cardiometabolic, which is like heart attacks, obesity, stroke, type 2 diabetes. What they want to do is work on prevention. Stop people from getting that sick so that we end up in a position where we need to claim for this funding. I completely agree. I think this is going to be a really difficult one because when you're doing prevention, it's hard to prove that you've saved money because you've prevented it. So for all the political shit, the opposition will just go, well, you haven't really saved the money. I know there are ways that you can show the decline in claims, etc., etc. But prevention is one that is very difficult to back up with numbers. Yes, I completely agree with this. And I've been part of studies where they've said, do you think you should have been given treatment earlier? And my answer was, yes. If they'd have treated me earlier, it took me over 10 years before I got put on a treatment that worked. But by then, I was so far declined and riddled with disease that we couldn't get me back up. You know, I'm not going to be able to get back up. But if I'd have got access to the treatment when I was in year 1, year 2 of the condition, my life could be very different. Very different. Yeah, it's a bit hard to say. So I'm very, very passionate about that. Move on. This one I love. Right. I have clients that are 16 years old. PIP scars us. Talk about this in my video. PIP scars us. It is horrendous. The conversations I have to have with people and the conversations you have going through the PIP process are extremely invasive. I'm talking to people about being able to clean yourself after a bowel movement. I'm talking to people about how often they're getting suicidal thoughts. It is hard enough for an experienced adult to have these conversations, let alone a 16-year-old. So what they're proposing is changing the rules so that if a child is receiving DLA, to bump up the age range so that they don't go to PIP until they're 18, or they're actually asking for feedback on this. And in my opinion, it needs to be 21 or 25. This process is horrendous. If we could move it to 21 or 25, hopefully by the time they get to that age, the government will have improved this and it won't break as many people, because this process breaks people. There's no question. It breaks people. Another big change they're making is there's something to do with universal credit where they have to do an assessment. I think it's work capability. So I'm not experienced in this, but they're going to do it where the PIP assessment counts for both. Okay, so instead of having to do 2 assessments, it will just be the PIP assessment. I think that's absolutely right, because when you have the UC assessment, if you've got PIP, it's so much easier because they know that PIP is so horrendous, and that if you've been awarded PIP, it's for a very good reason. So that's brilliant. That's going to save a load of money, a load of stress. Brilliant. So you're probably thinking, okay, Charlie, this all sounds great, but in the media, it sounds like a nightmare. Let's talk about the bit I do not agree with. Do not agree with it, and I will explain why. Any of you that's in my videos, I always talk about the points. The points is what the government assesses us against. My understanding was that this is a consultation. This is not going to be enforced unless it is voted for and agreed, because we live in a democracy. However, in this green paper, they are basically stating that they have decided, unless you receive 4 points in one of the activities in daily living, you will lose your funding for daily living. Let me explain a bit more. Let me show you the points first. So this is the government scoring system. So daily living consists of 10 activities, right? So activity 1, preparing food, preparing a basic meal. In activity 1, preparing food, unless you receive 4 or 8 points, you're not going to get the funding for this. Taking nutrition, which is basically eating, again, unless you get 4+ points, you will not get this funding. You do not have to get 4 or more points in every activity. It is just one activity out of the 10 that you are assessed on. Just one. Okay. Let me show you the rest of the points, and I'm going to explain a bit more about this and why I do not agree with it. So managing therapy. So again, to get to 4 points, that is having someone supporting you, assisting you for more than 3.5 hours a week, but no more than 7 hours a week, or up more than those hours. Yeah. Washing and bathing. This is unless you need assistance to be able to wash your upper body, or you cannot wash at all, you won't get the funding. Managing toilet needs, unless you need assistance to be able to manage the toilet needs, and someone is helping you with incontinence, not just cleaning your bedding, like physically helping you, you're not going to get the funding. Dressing and undressing, same again. So if you've got someone helping you with your socks because your knees are fucked and you can't bend them, or your lungs, you've got COPD and you can't bend over to get to your feet, you've got degenerative disc disease and your discs are bulging, sticking on your spinal nerve, so you can't do your lower body, no funding. It's upper body only that they're recognising, which I think you can gather from the way I'm explaining this is bullshit. Communication, reading and understanding, engaging with people face to face. So social, this is mixing with strangers, social support, and then above the overwhelming psychological distress or the risk of harm to yourself and others, you will be entitled to the funding. Making budget decisions, that's what they're talking about in daily living. That's where the 4 points are impacting. A lot of you are now probably thinking, well, I'm fucked. I don't think so at this point. Okay, let me explain why I don't agree with it. Now, remember, I have helped over 150 people win. That doesn't include all of you that have used the free guides and templates, okay? When the DWP issue the scoring, what they tend to do is spread the points. Even at tribunal, they tend to spread the points. They don't like to show high points. For example, when I have clients that are non-verbal autistic warriors, they still won't give them 4 points and above. They'll give them 2 points for prompting. The points never, ever, well, that's not true. Very, very rarely do I see the points actually match people's lives. Even when I have clients that score 27 points in daily living or above that, they will in the end get 12 or 13 points. Points never actually match people's lives. No, points very rarely actually match people's lives. So by the government saying 4 points and above, I get how someone that is not involved with this, or that is looking at how the process should work in a perfect world, it looks completely reasonable. But yeah, if people have got 4 points, then, you know, they're entitled to it. We're drawing the line. But what they don't understand is the reality of the system. They don't often do that because of however their culture is. It's just fact. That is just the reality of how PIP works. And I accept that. My client, we accept it because we've got no choice. But by implementing this change, it means the way that the DWP issue the scoring is actually going to fuck over a load of people that should have scored 4 and above, but didn't, but still got enhanced because of the way they spread it. So my understanding is this is a consultation, right? We have to vote for this. We have 12 weeks to give feedback. 12 weeks. So I was like, brilliant. We can just, if we get enough of us to give feedback, then we will speak very, very loudly and the government will know that actually they need to reconsider it. But there's a problem. So what I'm about to show you is what's called the consultation questions. This is what the government want us. Anyone can give feedback on this. It can be you, chronically ill person. It can be carer, a loved one, friend that is involved in your life. And don't forget, there are lots of activists and experts from charities like Mind, Scope. They are working hard to try and protect us, the vulnerable, chronically ill, disabled community. Okay, all of those people will be submitting feedback. But what's worrying me is the questions, because this 4 points, they're not asking our opinion. It sounds like they've made that decision. So let me show you. I want you to focus on question 2. Question 2. What support do you think we could provide for those who will lose the personal independence payment entitlement as a result of the new additional requirement to score at least 4 points on one daily living activity? What support do you think we could provide for those who will lose their PIP? So they're not asking our opinion about this 4 points thing. They're saying that's what they're going to do. I'm doing a call to action. As many of us as possible need to give feedback. So how the fuck do we give feedback? Let me show you. Go to Google, type in Green Paper DWP 2025. That's what I typed in. Click on it. I'll put a link in the description as well, so you could just do that to save time. Okay. So you go down, scroll down to the document to take you to this. In the how to respond, you can click on a link and do it online, or you can email, or you can write to them. Now, if you write to them, remember what I always say, send it recorded delivery. Don't trust them because they lose a lot of things, and we know this is a fact. So there's different ways you can submit feedback. Okay. I'm not going to do mine right now because I want to think about it and I want to clearly lay out my answers. I will do another video showing you that. I just wanted to show you where it is in case you don't want to wait for what I'm going to do, in case you want to do your feedback now. We've got 12 weeks. Okay, 12 weeks from the 18th of March is my understanding. I'm going to be doing more videos. So I was just looking for the date. I'm going to be doing more videos, more call to actions, because we need to do this. You could you don't have to, but I do a weekly newsletter. That's where I do more regular PIP updates. You get to see it before this channel. Although urgent videos like this, it goes straight onto YouTube. I'm going to be doing updates in my newsletter, okay? And we've just got to fight. We've got to pull together as a community. There are hundreds and thousands of you that watch these videos. Hundreds of thousands. We've got to smash that 16,000 feedback. We need a lot more than that. It needs to be you. It needs to be your loved ones. Anyone that understands your situation. We've got to get them all to do the feedback. So I'll do the video soon. We're called warriors for a reason. Now, even though we're fatigued, we're in pain, we've got a lot of shit going on, we need to add this to the list because we've got to fight for ourselves and those others in our community that don't have the energy to fight for themselves. Okay? We can do it.